put lots of amazing content over there that we only share in that group. So you'll definitely want to be a part of that. Hey, everybody, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for this conversation. We are going to be talking about something tonight that is going to set a lot of things, in a perspective. We'll just call it that way. This thing is absolutely moving all over the place, and I don't like that. So what we are going to be talking about tonight is exposing the feminine and the masculine fallacy. And the reason this is so important is because we have a lot of things out there that are talking about blurring the line so that we don't understand. See, friends, if you don't understand something, what that means is that you are highly susceptible to somebody else's perspective if you do not know what is right and aligned with your own truth. And this conversation is very, very necessary because we have lots of people out there that are trying to convince us of something much different than actually what is truth, right? And again, if we do not understand the difference between feminine is very staticky. I'm not sure why that's happening. Sometimes on Instagram I have that. Not sure why that happens. But masculine, let's start this conversation out by talking about masculine and feminine is not energy. Okay, it is a representation of how energy is generated. Okay, first of all, we gotta make sure that we understand that energy cannot be created. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. Right? That's just one of the laws of physics. Right? So the more we understand how it's being represented, I can hear you better here than on Instagram. I don't know what goes on with Instagram. Who knows what goes on with these different platforms? But it's important to understand that masculine and feminine represent energy. And if you understand the polarity of that energy, then you understand how it can be generated. Okay. We cannot create energy. We can generate energy, right? Now, I'm going to say some things that are going to trigger you, but when it triggers you, just understand, stay in the conversation long enough so that you can see that there are a lot more things going on here than what a lot of people want us to understand. Because see, most people check out once they are triggered. And my intention is not to trigger you. My intention is to get you to think about some things in a way that you might not know at this point. And once you have the awareness, you're not going to be able to be manipulated by somebody else. Friends, understand that if they can control how you behave, if they can control what you feel, then they're going to be able to control how you behave, right? And understand that there's a reason they call it television, right? And so I want you to understand that masculine and feminine has nothing to do with gender, okay? Now that's going to trigger some of you, and I get it. It has nothing to do with gender because there are men out there that have feminine traits. There are women out there that have masculine traits. And if you look at even a homosexual couple, there is a masculine energy and there is a feminine energy attribute to that. Now, that doesn't mean that we are either or. Okay, this is something else that's really, really important to understand because there are aspects of me, when I decided to step more into my feminine energy, I started understanding what that was, and I started getting more in touch with my emotional side of who I am, right? This is so important to understand this. This is so important to understand this because being integrated is our objective. Integrated means me being in touch with my masculine and with my feminine aspect of who I am as a human being. This is the race that I belong to, is the human being race. Okay, just putting that out there. And see, if we do not understand how we have been conditioned to believe, to filter everything through the eyes of duality, then we are going to be easily controlled, right? And anybody that knows, of course, I'm going to put this, if you're not over the potentialzonegroup.com, you've got to get over there. This is my Facebook group where we put tons and tons of amazing content. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because if you do not understand influence, it is being used on you. And it is being used on you to fulfill someone else's agenda. Okay. I'm like, for any of you that have been in my challenge, you definitely know that when I deliver in this, it is mission critical for you to understand that, see, I'm just going to put this out there. You are not your emotions. You are not your thoughts. You are your awareness. And your mission in this life should be everything that you can in order for you to expand your awareness. Because if you don't understand your awareness, then you are buying into someone else's trance. Okay. The Matrix, just like my good old boy, Bruce Lipton said, The Matrix wasn't a movie. It was a documentary. Right. And there's lots, friends, all you got to do is step back a little bit and let go of your biases, and you start seeing things in an incredibly more profound way. Like, why would a political party filter what is put on Twitter? Like, just go look up, go do some research and find out what Elon Musk is finding since he's bought Twitter. Just encourage you to go do that. Now, the thing that's amazing is a lot of people will not investigate things that go against their biases, right? It's called cognitive dissonance, right? And so we have a very biased agenda in what it is that we actually see in the information that we reveal to ourselves, because there's a lot of people out there. I know I've been part of this tribe as well. They don't like to be wrong, because being wrong means being rejected. It means being humiliated, right? Which is what the collective educational system has taught us. Nina, it is so good to see you. It's really important to understand this, because what happens when we got an F in school, right? Now, I don't know where you grew up in school, but where I grew up in school, they used to put the test scores out in the hall. And if we got an F, we got big F red letters up there so that everybody got to see that, which has ended up creating humiliation within ourselves. We will do everything we can to not experience humiliation. We will not ask questions. We will not challenge what it is that we believe. We will not look at authority in a different way. We will just comply and conform to what everybody else is telling us, because our other biggest fear is being separated from our tribe, right? And when we are separated from our tribe, we tap into our biggest fear of being exiled. Like I've said this many, many times, okay? So if they can divide us, they can conquer us, okay? This is what's happening with the feminine and masculine fallacy right now. So let's talk about what masculine is. Masculine wants to protect. Masculine wants to provide. Masculine is very analytical. It's very strategic. It's very logical, right? Very mathematical, right? And there's things that are important about that. See, now, if I want to just put this out there, I've been wanting to say this for a very, very long time. When you do your inner work, okay, which is a lifelong journey, right? Like I hear people saying, I'm healed. You're healed up to the level that you're at now with the experiences that you've had, because when you're put into a new experience and you go into a different level of consciousness, you're going to be introduced to new levels of healing that needs to take place, right? Like it's a lifelong journey, right? But once you start doing your inner work and starting getting in touch with your own inadequacies, your own things that you get to work on, you start seeing this in other people. You start seeing wounds in other people. And there's a lot of people out there sharing information, and you can tell that they're coming from their woundedness, right? I go back and look at my old videos, and it's like, oh my gosh, like you were like, I've still had levels of wounding to take care of, right? So I share that with this, is anybody that is saying that masculine or feminine is better than the other one, there's still woundedness there. It's not that one is better than the other, right? It is they are different. They are different, okay? And until we can really embrace the fact that they are different, we will never appreciate our own individuality, okay? So I told you a little bit about what masculine is. Feminine, this is what's amazing about feminine. You actually look up the word create or creation. Cree is literally a female noun. Okay, because I heard another creator out there, and I respect this woman on a level. Like she's done her inner work. She really challenges her thought processes and stuff like that. And she said the creation starts with female. And I'm like, oh, okay, wait a minute. Got triggered and went, all right, let's check this out. Then I started having this conversation with somebody that understood linguistics at a whole other level, and I was like, I wonder what the word Cree, like you look at creation and creature and things like that. So we looked up what Cree was, and he says, it's a female noun. I was like, oh, well, maybe that's where she got it from. Feminine is about holding space. Feminine is, so think about the guy builds the house. The feminine creates, okay, I said guy, but again, it's not based on gender. But the feminine energy wants to create space. Feminine is about nurturing. It's about compassion. It's about acceptance, right? So if you look at, I didn't bring one in here, and I was going to, but we can do it like this. This will represent it. So if you look at a battery, this is super important. Again, it's not at feminine or masculine energy. It's representations of energy. The more you can understand this, then you understand that in order for energy to circulate, it has to be a closed circuit, right? So if you look at yin and yang, yin being the feminine energy, yang being the masculine energy, right? So if you look at this as a battery, right? A battery has a tab on the outside like this, and it has a flat side on this side, right? Well, if we look at it representation like that, obviously the masculine side has the positive side, the feminine has the flat side. But here's what's important. In order for that circuitry to have emotion or has energy running through it, this is so important to understand. Where does the energy come into? Where does the energy come into? The energy flows into the negative side. Oh, I didn't say. Masculine represents positive side, feminine represents the negative side. Okay? The energy flows in to the negative side. Isn't that interesting? So, I've always said this from long time, that feminine can make masculine feel bulletproof. Okay? But most masculine has these issues with control and things like that because it's outside of what they can control, right? Like feminine is about flow. They're emotional. Men are more logical. Again, I said it again, but predominantly masculine is men, feminine is female, predominantly, right? So when a masculine doesn't understand how feminine flows and they start going into spaces that masculine's not aware of, they freak out because they're not as emotional as feminine is. So what masculine does is it wants to solve it. It wants to control it. It wants to shut it down because you are exceeding the bandwidth of what masculine is capable of handling. Okay. They want to fix it. They want to come up with a solution. They want to build something. Feminine just wants to flow. Feminine just wants to be in the essence, right? Feminine is all about manifestation. Feminine is about so think of a house. Again, if you have the feminine being the house, the masculine is what plugs into the outlets. The masculine would be more of the appliance. Both of them are contingent upon one another. Okay? Both of them are contingent upon one another. They complement each other. It is a complementary energy. Okay? So that's why I say it. Divine. Okay, so here's another aspect that nobody's talking about that I think is absolutely mission critical to start talking about this, and that is this. There is shadow masculine and shadow feminine, and there is divine. Some people can call it light. I call it divine shadow, or divine feminine and divine masculine. So here's some clues on this. Shadow masculine is tyrannical. It will go in there and blow stuff up. It will go in there and call blitzkrieg, right? It just destroys stuff, right? That's shadow masculine. Shadow feminine is more insidious. So you think of a concentration camp, it'll just slowly suck the life out of you, right? I grew up with a shadow feminine, devouring mother archetype, right? Like I've said it many times, my mom would have sold my soul if she would have made money on it, okay? Now, done lots of healing around that, stuff like that. But my dad was the one that was acting completely out of control. And he's the one that got blamed for all of our issues because it's very obvious. The conversation that a lot of people are not having is shadow feminine, right? And again, because we'll be real here. Patriarchy has got us to where we're at. And there's tons of woundedness in that without a doubt, right? Because men are wounded, right? And they control and do the things that they've done. But if you go back even further, okay, we're going to get real here. We're going to get really real here. Feminine started in horticulture. So you think about a garden hoe, right? Like women dominated the workforce back then. Like I haven't researched enough to find out what the men were doing, but they were probably getting wasted on drugs or something. I don't know what they were doing, right? They were out hunting and doing the thing that they needed to do, but the woman is the one that controlled the workforce. Okay. Then as we started to evolve, we started having equipment that got bigger. So that's when the agrarian age started. This is when men started to dominate the workforce. Okay. Because they needed the strengths of the backs of men. Okay. Then women didn't control the workforce anymore. So guess who got control of the perception of what everything else was going on, right? The one that controls the workforce is the one that controls the narrative. What I said there is hugely, hugely important, my friend. In the narrative, in spiritually, what is possible, like all kinds of different things. So we are in a phase right now where men have lost their identity because technology has replaced their backs, okay? And a lot of women that are coming into the workforce are very masculine, right? They had to be in order to get where they're at. But see, for me, feminine is more from the heart, right? Now there's all kinds of science that backs this up, of where the heart is way more powerful than the mind. Well, the brain, we'll talk it that way, because the mind is the body, right? I encourage all of you, I encourage every single person watching this to go watch the movie Power of the Heart. Power of the Heart was like totally liberating to me on a level that was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing information. Because tapping into your heart, again, tapping into each energy, for me, like I made a decision 5-6 years ago to tap into my feminine part of it, as I mentioned. And when I did, oh my gosh, like I just I had an opportunity here about 6 weeks ago, in a month. I've been doing this I started out about 2 months ago, and then went about 6 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, and I tapped into feminine energy into me that took me, like, opened up a world for me that it overwhelmed me. It literally overwhelmed me in what I was experiencing. But in going through that, as it integrated, I started understanding things at a completely different level, right? But if we are going to judge and resist the energies, it is going to persist, and it's going to cause us lots of frustration. Now, I am one that doesn't look at frustration as a negative thing, because frustration is literally our neurology is searching to understand something, right? And so going down this path, I remember somebody telling me, Jeff, you are super sensitive. And when I first heard that the first time, I literally wanted to turn inside out, because I have spent my life not wanting to be sensitive. Because for me, what sensitivity meant is I get my feelings hurt easy. But today I understand that sensitivity, and somebody shared it with me, Nina's shared this with me, is that sensitivity is power under self-control. It's strength under self-control. And literally understanding that at a different level has supported me in having awareness that I was not able to have before. So what we all want to strive for is being integrated. We want to integrate our masculine, and we want to integrate our feminine, and respect the differences, the polarity, right? And see, we have all been so conditioned to look through the eyes of duality, and we will never raise consciousness looking through the eyes of duality. We have to understand things through a polarity, right? Like having masculine on one side and having feminine on the other side. And we are somewhere in there in different contexts, right? Like there's some women that can be more masculine at work, and that's how they have to show up in the workplace, but yet they can come home and be their feminine and be nurturing and things like that. And understand this is this is a conversation that is so needed, because there are women out there, and women, I say this with all the respect in the world, I have coached thousands and thousands of men. I've coached thousands of men, and this has been part of my journey. A feminine will never be able to teach masculine how to be masculine. And I say that with all the love and the respect. It's not that you're not doing your best. I understand that you are, right? But it's also understanding. That was a 72 Camaro, Jeff. What was a 72 Camaro? I don't know what you're talking about, Andre. Is understanding that it's estrogen and testosterone. Let's just break it down in biology or molecularly. It is estrogen and testosterone. It is different energy, right? And we are raised like when feminism was started with a great intention, just like capitalism was started with great intention, just like the labor union was created with great intentions. But see, greed and ego and all these things get into it, and it gets corrupted, right? Like I've seen the labor union take out entire businesses because they sucked all the profit out of it, right? Again, it's understanding what our intentions are when we are creating things. Patriarchy, men have created lots and lots of issues without a doubt, right? And like I get it, right? And the thing that is happening to our country, our world, is that fatherless homes are becoming the new norm, right? And out of that this is my mission, is to get men to understand that to be a man means to take 100% responsibility. It does not mean take on all the responsibility. It means take 100% responsibility for who you are and how you show up, right? To lead courageously. That means looking at the areas that hold you back and stepping into that, right? Be clear about what you are committed to, right? Because, and this is so important, we don't get what we want, we get what we're committed to. And when we're stepping into something new, relationship, opportunity, education, whatever it is, right? And we can say, this is what I want to have happen. What ends up happening is we start navigating towards what we want to create. We're going to get in touch with all of the things that we have been committed to that has kept us staying in our wounds, right? So, Nicole, it is so great to see you. Yes, it is so good to see you. So being able to understand what is it that you have been committed to that is keeping you from stepping into your greatness, right? Because these are where our wounds are. These are where our opportunities show up, right? And for me, feeling been one of the not feeling has been one of the areas that I've been committed to for a big part of my life. And when I started going, to me, it takes a whole lot more courage to go into your shadow than it does to face anything else in this world. Like going into your shadow, that takes, I don't know if I can say this or not, but I'm going to say it. It takes some huevos, right? Like it takes some courage to go into your shadow. And it really takes having an environment that supports you to be able to do that. Because love, I didn't like hearing this, but it is so true. There is nothing that brings up the shadow more than love. There is nothing that brings up the shadow more than love. Because as men, we want to protect and we want to guard and we want to do all this stuff. Oh, got it. Thank you, brother. Yes, absolutely. That was a 72 Camaro for Jeff. Absolutely, Andre. He's talking about a car accident that I had where I flipped a 72 Camaro end over end and almost ended my life and my sister's life. That was a wake-up call for me. So yeah, and pain is a great motivator to get you to change. Pain is one of the greatest motivators to get us to change. But also knowing, having the awareness, having the environment and things like that allow us to be able to question the things that we believe, right? Friends, again, it's not what to believe. If there's one thing that I want you to get of all the teachings that I do, it is not what to believe. It is how to believe. It is how to believe. And most of the beliefs that we have been conditioned by somebody else. So I always ask this question, who is really running your life? Who is really running your life? Where did you get these beliefs and when did you decide? And most of the beliefs that we have taken on, that we have been conditioned, is we took on because we want to be accepted and appreciated and we wanted to have a tribe. And see, so many of us we hang on to beliefs that keep us entangled into a tribe, and we've never even asked ourselves a question: is this tribe aligned with where it is that I want to go? Is this tribe stepping out and challenging what it is that they believe and expanding and accelerating all the time? Or is this tribe alienating us from everybody else? Right? Like, go look up spiral dynamics and really get in touch with the pluralist level, because that's where we're at right now. This is why we've had the most tumultuous election last year. It's not the candidates. Understand, friends, we as a collective have created those candidates. It doesn't matter whether you're red or blue. The thing that's important to understand about all this, and this goes back to masculine and feminine, the red and the blue is attached to the same bird. It's attached to the same bird, right? And when we had 9/11, everything changed. Everything changed. We were no longer separate. We had to come together. And this is what pain and tragedy will do, is it brings us together as a collective. But we don't have to wait for that to happen in order for us to get there. Okay. So I appreciate all of you being here. And again, if you haven't signed up for my ROI Accelerator Challenge, that guy that just said that, just back up what he said. ROI Accelerator Challenge, right? Go to the ROIAcceleratorChallenge.com. Be a part of the community that we're over there. There's people that are creating things that are absolutely amazing. There are people that are really understanding how important their story is. Because see, friends, understand the greatest investment you have ever made, whether you recognize it or not, is your story. You are living your story every single nanosecond of your life. It is the greatest asset you have, right? And I show you how to take that to impact other people's lives and literally be able to design and create something that is aligned with who you truly are, rather than, think about this. What are the two biggest things, the two biggest choices that we make in our life? Well, there's another one, but I'm going to go with these two. Two biggest choices that we spend in our lives. Where do we spend more energy in these two areas than any other area of our life? What is it we do for a career? I heard this from, I can't remember, Amy Grant. Amy Grant said this in an interview. What we do for a career and who we choose as a life partner. These are the things that we put more energy in than anything else. How much energy do you put around deciding who am I aligned with? What is it that I really want to create? What sets my soul on fire? These are questions that I think everybody should be obsessing over, right? Because it means everything. It determines the quality of your life. And I'll end with this. When you look at the movie Titanic, at the end of that movie, there was like the most epic scene I think that I've seen in any other movie. And that was, think about Rose. Rose was her name, right? Jack was the outlaw, the criminal. Showed her how to have a good time, how to dance on tables, how to live life, how to do all the things that she never got the opportunity to do, and living a life of prim and proper and etiquette. And this is what we do and say and act this way. You don't step out of the box, right? And Jack comes along and just disrupts her whole life, right? And at the end of that movie, it shows her after she passed, and they're panning her room. And in that panning that room, it shows all of the photographs of all the adventures that Rose created as a result of the disruption that Jack caused in her life, right? Every intention sets into motion a disruption. Okay. So understand this, just know this is where you're going. So I want to do all I can to support you in making your life go after what it is that you truly want to create. Because friends, understand your attention, what you focus on, you are literally giving life to. So what are you giving life to? The things that support you and elevate you and make you feel like you're adding amazing things to this world? Or are you giving your attention to what somebody else wants you to believe in and sucking the life out of you? Okay. So if you haven't joined my ROI Accelerator Challenge, I encourage you to do so. It will change your life. And until next time, my friend, as always, be blessed and live like your life depends on it, because it does. Much love to everybody, and I appreciate you spending your valuable time with me. And until next time,